and thank you for joining me on the show today. This is the Now Talks, a collection of inspiring personal stories and leadership lessons from some of the world's most iconic leaders. It is the weekly podcast for women in leadership, brought to you by Nations of Women. My name is Dr. Tina Alton, and I'm your host for today and the coming weeks. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you have joined me from this afternoon, this day. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Tina Alton. I'm the CEO and President here at Nations of Women. And I am delighted to come your way with an amazing friend of mine, Micha Jennings, coming to you all the way from sunny California in USA. Now, Micha is a friend, she's a sister, she's a confidant, my thinking partner. We get after so many good stuff, but today we're going to get into business and just the joy of, having her say yes to come and just share pieces of her journey, pieces of her story, and really, her path into leadership. And my heart is that as you listen, as you read, that you're going to have some wonderful nuggets that you would then be able to apply in your life. And guess what? Will help you to see some of the results that Micha has seen in her life as well. So again, thank you, Micha, for coming on today.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Tina. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Thank you. So I don't think I'd ever do you justice enough by attempting to introduce you, because you're a woman that wears so many different wonderful hats. So just by way of introduction, I wanted to introduce yourself to our listeners, our readers, really your journey into leadership.
Well, my journey into leadership began in a quiet, hidden place. Over 20 years ago, I was in the marketplace, and I was called out of the marketplace because I had a high-risk pregnancy. And so I had a decision to make. Do I want to keep staying in the marketplace and risk my pregnancy, or come out and raise a child long-term? Well, that was a no-brainer for me. I decided to come out and raise my child. And that journey began into a place of being homebound, which was challenging for me at first, because I had various friends who were out and they were in the marketplace and they were working, and I was at home with this child. And I thought I would resume back to work after my child was about 4 or 5. And I realized that I had a call to raise this child at home as a homeschool child, which further made me go into an inner vortex of being home-centered. That journey of being home-centered went deeper and deeper and deeper as I was within a community of moms that were kind of far out, and they were very conservative, and the stereotype homeschool mom that you would see knitting yarn in a park, or that had goats and chickens in the backyard. So I found myself in the company of these women while I was watching friends go out and do high-powered things. And I began to think, am I ever going to come out of this place of hiddenness? And is what I'm doing making a difference? Fast forward, my child has graduated. He homeschooled all the way through and is now in film school. And along the way, people questioned what I was doing on this path, and was there value in what the task that I had been assigned to do? My child is a very unique child with a very strong gifting and a strong calling on his life. So it took a village of people around the world to help me train and raise this child up. And as soon as that task was completed, I was launched into I would say, high gear of creating a cosmetic line about 4 months after my son graduated. And so that has been a journey of coming out of hiddenness, dusting myself off, and reshifting and directing myself to be a marketplace businesswoman.
Wow, now that is incredible. Already, I'm just excited. And congratulations, by the way, to you and your son. I always believe that I think as moms, even for our children's birthdays, it has to be our birthdays because we did all that hard work. So I say congratulations to you. But of course, I know your son had to study as well, and then write the exam. So it goes to both of you. But one of the things you said that I want to kind of like, take us a little bit deeper is where, it's starting with that high risk pregnancy and that creating the either or, right? And the choice that comes from there, and how I think like society sometimes interprets the choices that we make as women. And I think we know, I think it's Serena Williams, right? The tennis player
Hmm.
that has also
Yes.
make a similar choice in terms of the career long term versus the family. So I wanted to share with, with our community. You talked about how eventually looking at homeschooling your son for the whole period created that Micha who was home centered and people questioning the value in what you're doing. So how I honestly believe that it takes a certain level of tenacity, grit, and confidence to actually push through not just people questioning, but I would say like sometimes as women inherently within us as well. So would you share with us maybe did you face of course you've said you've shared that already, but what are some of the ways that helped you to stay the course, to maintain that tenacity, to maintain to be resilient? I think is a good word. What helped you to stay resilient?
One of the things that helped me to stay resilient was when there is a word or an inner knowing within me, and I hear a voice that says, "Go this way," I will be committed to following what I know is the path and the destiny of who a person is created to be inwardly. Um, and that will help me ward off the naysayers. It was very challenging for me because my father was a vice provost at a prestigious university and my mom was a principal. So, and both my parents' siblings were all educators. So I was surrounded by academiacs. And here comes this daughter that says, I'm bucking the system. So, one of the things that helped me stay strong in my resolve is that knowing that when there's a path and a destiny and an inner voice that says you are marked for this way, I will not veer from it. I will grit my teeth and dig my heels in, and I will go down the path no matter how high the mountain is. I will be steadfast unto the inner knowing of what I know that a person is called to be. I feel like one of my gifts is to be able to see and identify people's strengths and to help them stay steadfast on who they are called to be and how to walk out their identity without veering to what the world says it seems that they can, um, what the world says it seems that they should do.
This is so good. And I think it also brings us to to this whole question on how do you know what you're called to do? And I think, these days there's a lot of, well, I'm going to do what I want to do because this is what makes me happy, but not necessarily um doing what we're called to do or to be. So how does a woman get to that place of knowing this is what I'm called to be, this is what I'm created to be? How do how did you know?
Well, I feel I have the ability to hear the voice of God. And as with the ability to hear the voice of God clearly and with clarity, once that directive is given, once it is known, and once the gifts are seen and manifest, I will stick to the word and the paths and the giftings that are already operating within me or with the person that I'm called to mentor and uplift and undergird. And I will not veer from that path, even if it's challenging or if it's difficult. I believe that if there are giftings that you have and that there's a calling that you have, that you align up with who you were created to be and the gifts that manifest within you, and that you partner with those strengths and you keep down that path, and you don't look to the left and you don't look to the right.
Wow, this is incredible. I think I've got here is, one of the key ways we know what we're called to do, what we're created to be really is it starts with identifying the gifts that are already in us, right? I think that's what you've shared with us is what are the gifts that are already in you. So I want us to bring, because I mean we don't have a lot of time, but this is so good. I want to get to, get as many in as possible. And going back to the cosmetics line that you're launching. I mean, of course, having gone through, 18 years or 19 years of homeschooling your son and then, climbing out into the business world again as a businesswoman, I'm sure there's been people who are like, okay, what exactly is she kind of like doing, because we have that here in the UK where they'll be like, oh my goodness, like what did, but you always have to kind of like keep a blind ear to the naysayers. But what has been exciting for you in terms of like stepping out again into the business world? What is exciting you right now about that?
One of the things that's exciting me is having a dream manifested. It's been several years where I wanted to create a healing balm for the skin. I've had a close friend who had a serious skin condition, so much so that it caused her not to be able to get a job where she has a secondary graduate degree. And so I had been on a quest to create something that would be healing for her skin, healing for all people's skin, and moisturizing to the outer layer of the skin. And after trying to create something over the years, there was just one day when it all clicked, it all happened. The ingredients came together and I was making it. And as I prepared it for my skin, other people were there and they began to try it and they come back and ask for it. They came with their jars, they came with their containers and asked for them to be filled up. So it was a dream being manifested before my face. I thought it was going to be for an individual, but then I saw that, and no, in actuality, it's going to be for a broader audience, for a mass of people, not just one. It was going to be for the many. So what I had put in a smaller container, it was immediately known that no, this is going to be for people at large to bring healing to their skin.
Wow, I'm excited. You know what I've got here is ladies or gentlemen, even if you're listening to this, if you're reading to this, don't throw away your dream, no matter how long it takes to see it come to life, because that dream could be the answer for someone, or a dream could be the answer for many. Wow. So are you allowed to tell us a bit more about the products? Like what can we expect, or what countries is it available in, and how do we get hold of the product?
Well, the product is called Rhema Radiance, because I believe that it is a healing balm that will be alive and activated in your skin. It will cause you to be radiant and glowing from the inside out. It'll be extra moisturizing, extra hydrating, rejuvenating to the skin. It will be launched in America, but I believe that it will go international to the UK and then into Ghana. And then I feel next it will go from Ghana to Nigeria. I believe that's the path. That it will be on an international circuit. It will be for hydration for those that have darker melanin, but on the same side, those that have fairer skin, it will bring moisture and healing, as those who have tried it with fairer skin have loved that it has brought moisture to the skin and elasticity to the skin and protected it from sun and sunspots.
Ooh, I'm excited. Yes, please, for UK. I'm definitely waiting to be, your distributor for UK and Europe. But I'm just so excited. I think it's just one of those just momentous experiences to have in life where it feels like a dream is dormant, and then suddenly, the time appointed for it comes. And like you said, you see the dream come to life. So, congratulations on just tarrying and just being so resilient and not giving up on that dream and bringing it in, that we are now all going to be able to enjoy this healing balm that's going to make us all radiant. I can't wait to get my hands on one. But before we let you go, because we've got very tiny, just a couple of minutes left to, wrap this up, but I'd like to hear from you. If you think of your life as a mom, as a wife, as a woman, as a leader, as a business global leader, what can I learn from your life, or what can our readers and listeners learn from your life? If there was one thing that you'd share with us about your life in terms of a lesson, what would that be?
Do not despise the day of small beginnings, and do not despise hiddenness and working in singularity where things are not seen, because there will become a point where things will be uncovered if you're diligent, if you're working with excellence, if you're staying the course, that there will be a time where what's done in secret will be unveiled and made known to the public. And I believe that this is the path that I have been on. What has been done in secret, as far as mothering, nurturing, mentoring, um, compiling of ingredients and mixing and creating healing balms through trial and error. It has been almost a 20-year process, that it has come to life in the blink of an eye, just like that.
Wow, wow, wow. This has been an amazing conversation. So, for those of you listening or reading, just to wrap this up, is that as women particularly, we're always going to be faced with times where we have to choose something that is as important as bringing life, like your pregnancy versus your career, which is, my family versus perhaps my livelihood, right? And you have to make the choice, and don't be afraid to make the choice that ultimately carries the biggest reward. In this case, it would be choosing, your family, choosing to take that pause to be there for your son, and to bring him into the world, and to see him through his growing years. I've also got here that, being home centered, or being a woman that is called to be home centered, does have value, because it's like it's the biggest license you can ever have in terms of pouring into your children, and like don't let what the world think of it, or don't let the naysayers say put you out of place, right? Because there will be a time that you will also come out. And then I've got here is to stay resilient requires that you know the path that you're called to be. And you know the path, or you hear the path that, allows you to know where to follow. And I hear that as, we all have a faith of some sort. And so let your faith guide you in terms of how and the path that you follow. And also to know who you are and to be able to follow what you're called to do requires that you first that identify what are the gifts that are already in you. And I always say, what is in your hand, right? What is in your hand, and what can you start with? The thing that is in your hand. And again, the lesson with, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I also wanted to say a huge part of it was learning how to endure in meagerness financially, to sacrifice, to save for the bigger reward, being able to endure that course.
That is so cool and so true. And I think, the endurance is what I would say sometimes becomes the biggest challenge for us, not just as women, but as leaders, because, sometimes you can see that, hey, if I choose that, there is a sacrifice that comes with every choice. Because I had a friend of mine, Amy, says, if you choose yes, it means you're saying no to something. And if you say no to something, it means you're choosing yes. So there's always a sacrifice that comes with the choices that we make on a day-by-day basis. But what you've got here, one of the gold nuggets you shared is never ever throw away the dream, no matter how long it takes or how long it feels like my dream is not coming to life, my dream is not coming to pass. Do not let that dream fall to the ground and die. Hold on to the dream, because that dream could be the answer to someone or the answer to many, right? And now we've got Rhema Radiance coming out of that season of, endurance, that season of you've got here like hiddenness. And the lesson we can learn from your life is do not despise the days of small beginnings. And don't be afraid to go through those seasons where perhaps it looks like you're hidden, right? It looks like nobody sees me. I'm bypassed. Time is, because there is always redemption. That's what I've heard. There's always redemption. And that at the appointed time, you will be able to come out of that hiddenness and be able to, stand tall, and the world will be able to see, how that dream, that little seed, that small beginning becomes a mighty giant. So may I proclaim over you, Micha, that it is now time for you to arise and shine, for your light and your time has come. And I believe that you have been, you've endured those many years and seasons of quietude or solitude, as you said here. But all of that was set for an appointed time, such as now. So, it's what I say. Now is your time. Now is your season. So arise and shine, for your light has come. Thank you again for spending this time with us and for sharing, gifting us with your wisdom. And I do hope that as you're listening, as you're reading, you've taken something out of this time with, Micha Jennings here. And write to us, let us know, how have you applied what you've heard today, or have you experienced any of what Micha has shared today? And how did you overcome? What is your story? Come and tell us, share with us, and who knows, we may feature you in this. So you can write to us now at naturesofwomen.com. But also, I want you to, tell us, Micha, how, the website for Rhema Radiance is that rhemaradiance.com, that we can go and get some products.
Yes.
Wonderful. So you had it from Micha. Just go to rhemaradiance.com and get yourself a nice, moisturizing and lavishing healing balm. Until I come your way next time, remember that if it feels like you're walking through the nighttime, daylight surely will come. Take care, and bye-bye to each one of you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's all for this week. You've been listening to Dr. Tina Alton with the Now Talks, the weekly podcast for women in leadership, brought to you by Nations of Women. All that remains is for me to say have a fantastic week, stay safe, and reach out if you need any help now at nationsofwomen.com. Until next time, enjoy the pursuit of your potential, and remember, now is your time.